portable hand tools are used across the country, day in, day out, by skilled and some not so skilled people.
Hi, welcome to Tool Talk. I'm your host, Tom the Toolful Thompson, and this is my assistant. Bob.
Thanks, Tom. Today on Tool Talk, we're going to discuss portable hand tools. You know, Tom, portable hand tools have been around for a long time.
Yeah, at least as long as your mother.
No, Tom. I mean, back as far as prehistoric caveman days.
That's what I meant.
You might say that a rock was one of the first portable hand tools.
Or held at a club.
Right, anyway. There are many different kinds of portable hand tools. Some are newer than others, and some are as old as a hammer or a rock.
Yeah, that's right, Bob. I really know my portable tools. In fact, here's some of my favorites.
Well, if you know so much about portable hand tools, Tom, you would also know that you shouldn't carry tools that way.
Huh?
Tom, chisels, screwdrivers, and other pointed tools should never be carried in a pocket. Instead, they should be carried in a toolbox or a carrying belt, like this, sharp and pointed ends down, or in a protective sheath. And when walking around with tools, you should always keep the points and cutting edges held away from the body.
Oh, okay. And they should also be handed one person to another, never thrown. Hey, Bob, go out for a pass.
Pointed tools should always be passed with the handles toward the receiver.
Okay, enough of this handling stuff. Let's get to the using. First of all, before using any tool, you should inspect it.
That's right, Tom.
Tools that receive the heaviest wear are chisels, wrenches, hammers, sledges, drills and bits, coal cutters, and screwdrivers.
And using the right tool for the job will reduce wear and keep them in good working order. And if you find a tool in need of repair or maintenance, tag it, remove it from service, and get a replacement.
But before you begin to use any tool, remember your safety precautions.
Always wear personal protective equipment suitable for the hazards of the job.
Right. Otherwise, it'd be like a quarterback on the field without his shoulder pad and helmet.
Or an umpire without his face mask.
Or a 56 Chevy without the V8. Or a battery commercial without the bunny. Or a baseball season without the World Series.
Tom, I think you're spraying there.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Anyway, it's always good to wear the appropriate personal protection for the job you're doing with the tool you're using. If you're using a sharp knife or cutting tool, use cut-resistant gloves. Or, if you're using a hammer, wear eye protection.
Actually, Tom, it's always a good idea to wear eye protection regardless of what you're doing. Sometimes goggles, helmets, safety shoes, or hearing protection are needed. Follow your safety guidelines.
Okay, wise guy. It's also a good idea to secure your work whenever possible. That way you can avoid injury if your tool were to slip.
Did you know, Tom, that the screwdriver is one of the most misused and abused tools in the hand tool world?
No, Bob, I did not.
If used incorrectly, it can become unfit for the job it's intended to do. A broken handle, bent blade, or a dull or twisted tip could cause it to slip out of the slot and cause hand injuries.
Yeah, that's right, Bob. They can also mess up your screw heads. Which brings up another very important point. But I can't remember.
Well, you just keep on thinking. Okay? Using tools correctly. All edge tools should be used so that the direction of force is away from the body. Cut should be made with the grain when possible. Hey, good job. Edge tools should be kept sharp and ground to the proper angle, like saws, knives, planes, and chisels. And Tom, you should always leave the repair and maintenance of tools to qualified and designated employees. Torsion tools are used to grip and fasten. These include pliers, wrenches, tongs, cutters, vices, and screwdrivers. These tools must fit the job precisely to prevent slippage. Again, don't substitute tools that are not designed for the job. For example, don't use pliers to loosen bolts. It could just ruin the bolt and make it difficult to use a wrench on them later. Our next subject is shock tools.
Shock tools are electric tools.
Wrong, Tom. Shock tools are hammers, like sledgehammers, riveting hammers, and claw hammers. Now remember, a hammer handle may have been wedged tightly at the factory, but use and shrinkage will loosen it. Make sure when using a hammer that the handle is secure, it's the right size and weight for the job, and it's properly dressed.
So would that be black tie or hat and pearls?
No, Tom. A properly dressed hammer has a safe and efficient head. It's not pitted, chipped, or battered.
So a chip off the old block isn't really such a good thing.
Right. Chips and other flying debris caused by hammering, chiseling, cutting, and sanding aren't good things either. Make sure you're well protected.
Okay. So there are only about a zillion different types of hand tools. Some are better than others. Depends on the job.
And it depends on how much you're using the tool.
Oh, you mean like ergonomic issues?
Well, yes, Tom, I was referring to ergonomics. Perhaps you'd like to expand.
No, that's okay, really. You go ahead.
Well, okay. The repetitive use of some tools or a poor fit in your hand can cause injury, discomfort, and fatigue. Make sure that the handles, shape, and form minimize the stress to hands and upper body. A well-designed tool will reduce the fatigue.
Sometimes choosing a tool for yourself is a better alternative.
If a tool is of good quality and kept sharp, it will reduce the amount of force needed to get the job done.
Power tools that have minimal vibration will be more comfortable and less likely to cause injury due to excessive exposure to vibration. Yeah, that's it.
Using gloves with pads, anti-vibration gloves, work rotation, and frequent breaks will reduce exposure.
Right. Look at your workstation. You may need to adjust the height of your work surface. That will help to correct your posture and reduce muscle stress while using the tool.
What are some other important things that our audience might like to know?
Well, how about how insulated handles can protect you from electrical shock?
Well, let's not be misleading, Tom. Electricity is a serious subject. Now, there are some tools specially designed for working around electricity or on electrical sources, but remember, only trained personnel should do this type of work. Now, some screwdriver handles are insulated with dielectric materials, but still, this is intended for secondary protection, as are insulated blades. Also, be sure all electrical current is shut off before beginning work.
Some pliers are also insulated for electrical work, but don't confuse cushion grips for comfort on some pliers with insulated handles, or you could be in for a really big shock. Take it from me, I would know.
You would know. Now, those pliers would be clearly specified as insulated, and even with those, you would want to wear electrician's gloves and take other precautions with any kind of electrical work. And that brings up another specialized tool. Spark resistant.
Oh, Bob, I think we're running out of time.
Relax, Tom. We've got plenty of time. As I was saying, spark-resistant tools are made out of non-ferrous materials. This means they contain no iron. Therefore, they're less likely to create sparks. These are used around flammable gases, highly volatile liquids, and other explosive materials.
Sounds cool. Let's go.
Well, wait a minute, Tom. Non-ferrous tools may reduce the hazards from sparking, but they do not eliminate them.
Oh.
The working edges of these tools are not as hard as steel tools, so you'll have to inspect them more frequently to make sure there aren't any foreign particles attached that could create friction sparks.
We done yet?
Well, I think we've covered the basics, but you're not done yet.
What do you mean?
You can't leave these tools laying around like this. Someone could cut themselves, and be careful how you put them in your toolbox. But this is the worst.
What?
Leaving tools overhead loose. These could fall off and hit someone. You've got to remember to pick up after yourself.
Yeah. That's what my wife is always saying. Yeah, well, Bob, I think that just about wraps it up for today, don't you think? Thanks for joining us on Tool Talk. Tune in again next time when we'll talk about power tools. Or at least, Bob will.